The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Wyoming Women's Business Center 2020 webinar series. My name is Veronica Donahue with the COVID-19 Support Program, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's topic is expert insights on videography. Now, before we jump into the agenda, I want to point out the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen, and specifically the questions area. You should see a chat box, which is where you can communicate with us. And of course, we will be taking questions as part of this Expert Insights webinar. So if you have any questions or comments, you can type them into that chat area throughout the presentation, and we'll be sure to ask them. I do have my colleague on the line to help us manage the questions. This webinar is being recorded, and a direct recording link will be sent to everyone who registered for this webinar shortly after this webinar concludes. You can also see many of our past webinars on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search for the Wyoming Women's Business Center. Immediately following this presentation, a survey will launch. I just ask that everyone stay on the line for a few extra minutes to complete this survey, as it provides us and our funding partners with valuable information. And I just want to remind everyone that all participants are muted to minimize background noise. So again, if you have any questions, type them into that questions area whenever one comes up. We're going to get started with some quick information about the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and then we'll dive into our topic today. The WWBC is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to enable and empower Wyoming entrepreneurs, with a special emphasis on women who are economically or socially disadvantaged. We do this through 4 distinct programs. The first is our business counseling and training program, which is always free. The second is our microfinance programs, which offer microloans and individual development accounts. Third is the Artist Development Center we run in conjunction with our Works of Wyoming store and Art Connect Gallery in downtown Laramie. And lastly is the COVID-19 Support Program. This webinar series is brought to you by our COVID-19 Support Program, and I want to call special attention to this list of services available to Wyoming business owners when they become clients. If you're interested in any of these resources, you can contact me by phone or email, or visit our website at wyomingwomen.org. All right, let's move on to the meat of our webinar and introduce our 3 expert panelists. These are Wyoming-based service providers, and we are so thankful that they are here today. The first panelist is Alden Wood of Tower 3 Productions. Alden, do you want to turn your camera on and give a quick introduction? Oh, it looks like you're muted still. Oh, there you go.
Hi, I'm Alden Wood. I own Tower 3 Productions here in Jackson, Wyoming. I moved here about 17 years ago and worked in action sports and an ad agency. And then I started my company in 2010, and it's grown every year. And we're now one of maybe the top 3 production companies in Jackson. A lot of companies here do action sports and skiing and mountain biking and different films like that, but we have kind of created a niche where we do kind of all the other types of films, more commercial stuff for businesses who want to do an amazing business profile, or real estate, or weddings, or events, or pretty much everything. We kind of are jack of all trades. And I did come from a television production background in Los Angeles and New York. And so I've been able to bring that to Jackson, and we really can do anything. We've done a shoot for the Colbert Show, we've done HGTV, we've done a shoot for Sony, we've done bigger scale productions, as well as, just a little business profile for somebody who has a spa. So we kind of run the gamut, and we love being here in Jackson, and we have beautiful scenery to film. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that introduction, Alden. It's great to have you here. All right, let's move on to our next panelist. So unfortunately, Anthony did have an emergency come up today, and he will not be available to speak, which is really unfortunate. But I do want to thank him for saying he would come, but it is unfortunate news that he won't be here. All right, the next panelist is Auburn Flores of Crux LLC. Auburn, do you just want to turn your webcam on and give us a quick introduction?
All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Auburn. Yeah, I'm here in Laramie, Wyoming. Yeah, so quick background from me is I was living in Maui, Hawaii for about 7 years ago, where I started a skateboard company called One Love Skate with some friends. And that's what basically got me into videography or any sort of media production. From there, I ended up just learning through friends and people who went to film school and just collaborating with those guys and just basically being self-taught, which then I came to the University of Wyoming and got a marketing background. And so my goal, well, through then I've used Auburn Flores Media really just to grow from weddings to events to branding and marketing and stuff with that, with small businesses and helping them basically get the branding material they need for social media content. And having a marketing degree has helped me start a business called Crux, which Crux is just a cooperative marketplace where I'm able to work with other freelancers to bridge the gap right now to help businesses basically get the work they need from other freelancers. So we do a lot from social media, from videography, photography, web design, graphic design, and a lot more. And yeah, from there, basically, I'm not as huge as Alden as far as doing larger scale things. We really just work on small businesses, helping people get these small advertisement and promotional video, highlight videos, different things in that quality. So, yep.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Auburn. All right, now I'm going to ask all our panelists to turn on their webcams, and we're going to dive into some questions. So for all my attendees out there, if you have questions, start typing them into the questions panel, and we're keeping an eye on those as they come in. So the first question I have, and I'll give both of you a chance to answer. When a small business contacts you for videography, what is the most common request, and why do they need a professional? I'll start with you, Alden.
So the most common question I get is, you know, somebody told me that I need a video for my website. I don't even know where to start. You know, how long does it need to be? Do I need to be in it? And so I just sort of take them through the process, which is, well, what's your main message? Are you a service? Are you a retail? Are you trying to sell a home? Are you trying to, are you having a wedding? So it really depends on what their content is. But then, one of the most common questions is, how long does my video need to be? And, as we all know, the attention span these days is pretty short. And so I usually suggest something in like the 2 to 4 minute zone. And then we just sort of go through what their main goal is and come up with shots to support that. And another concern that people often have is, do I need to be in the video? I'm so scared in front of the camera. And so we really try to put them at ease and say, you can do a voiceover, but it's sort of always really great to have people in the video, especially if you're the business owner. So, we just sort of answer those initial anxiety questions, and then we just get to work and schedule a shoot day. And I think they're for the most part, people are pretty surprised at how smooth and seamless the process goes once they actually engage us, because we kind of just handle it for them. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but.
Well, I think so. It's hard to say because there's so many different types of businesses. Auburn,
right.
Same question to you. What is the most common request, and why should they hire a professional?
I would say the most common request for us has been basically getting videos for social media. And like Alden said, the timeliness of it. We do like social media for Instagram is a 60-second platform. So it's really common for people to use all of these social media platforms. And one reason I think you would need a professional videographer for, say, social media or for your website is because we have the expertise. We're able to provide, with starting from our equipment, starting from the insights that we've learned from, that Alden's learned from school, that I've learned from myself and others. We have the programs, we have the things we pay for to make ourselves successful in that. And so in that, we look to making your business successful. So we hope to give you guys the reason to invest in us. That way you get an investment yourself on whatever it is, the message that you're trying to provide. So I think that's why it's important.
Okay. So what do you think clients should think about and prepare before they connect with a professional? I'll start with Auburn this time.
I think clients really need to prepare for, like I said, maybe like what their target audience is and the message of whatever video they're wanting. And you start from there to then build up what is it that we're going to put this on what platform, to your website, to your social media, on both. And then basically finding ways to make that message creative. So like Alden said, we would like to sit down with you, you know, plan out something, come up with some sort of timeline together to complete this. And I think one thing for clients to prepare for with this is to really have, like for us, it doesn't take a lot of time to shoot and get the product or the material we need to make the video. So really having things organized for us on the day of the shoot that we've planned and making it as simple and easy for us to do it. And that way we can get what we need in just a short period of time. And yeah, so, and Alden might have other.
Okay, Alden,
Yeah.
Same question to you.
What was the question again?
What should clients think about and prepare before they connect with you?
So yeah, like Auburn says, it just really depends on the client. But I always kind of tell people to come up with like 5 to 10 bullet points of what describes their business and sort of their mission. So, and I say, you know, keep them short. It's kind of an exercise in really honing in on what their main message is. So just 10 bullet points. And then those by themselves actually really help us formulate interview questions, formulate B-roll. B-roll means all the supporting imagery that goes under a voiceover or an interview. So say it's a real estate video and the realtor's talking about the highlights of the home. B-roll would be images of the home that you're showing while he's talking about it. So, you know, so those 5 to 10 bullet points really help us come up with, you know, like I said, interview questions, B-roll. And then if it is like, you know, Auburn said, social media is a huge item these days that people are always wanting. So, you know, then if it's just a social media cut, we'll say, you know, we only need like 2 bullet points, you know, so this is really short. This is to the point. What is your main message? So yeah, that's sort of where we start.
Okay, it sounds like the main things people need to prepare is they need to know their purpose and their message, basically what they want to highlight with the video, and then where the video is going, so that you know what kind of video to give them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this next question, I think it's really relatable, and I'm curious about your answers. So a lot of people are uncomfortable with how they sound or look being on camera. What do you tell clients about how to act so that they look and sound their best? I'll start with you, Alden.
Yeah, this is a question that, like I said, we get a lot. And so what we do is when we shoot an interview, you know, I will be interviewing the person, but we'll have the camera sort of right next to me. So their eye line is a little bit off. You'll see that a lot in videos where somebody's not looking right into the camera. They're kind of just looking a little bit to the right or left. So they'll be looking at me and I just say, okay, this is just a conversation between you and me. Just don't even worry about that camera right there. And at first people are nervous, but as we get the conversation going and they realize, you know, I always tell them, you know, this isn't live. We're not, you know, broadcasting. This is for you. We want you to sound as great as possible. We can start and stop as much as we want because we're going to edit this. So you tell us if you don't like the way you sound, just say stop, and then we'll ask the question again and do it again. So I just really try to let people know that this is absolutely for you. and whatever makes you the most comfortable. That's our goal. So the conversation setting really kind of relaxes people, and for the most part, after maybe the first couple questions, people kind of relax and get into it, and they're not talking about anything they don't know about. So normally they're able to, I'll say, we're not talking about anything that is going to stump you. It's just all stuff that you already know, that you already talk to people about every day. So for the most part, people can really relax, but that's my best tactic is the conversational interview setting where they're not even looking at the camera. I think that helps a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. All right, Auburn, do you have any tips for anxiety?
Yeah, same thing. I'm with Alden, just the alternate camera angles, making it where people don't feel like there's this thing staring at you, because I'm the same way. As soon as something's in your face or looking at you, you just tense up or you get that weird anxiety. I like to get people to feel relaxed. I always tell them, like Alden said, this is just a personal conversation. One thing I like to do a lot is if someone's not a really good public speaker or they're not a good adaptive speaker or just on hand, they can do it on the top of their head. I like to prepare them with some sort of script or a type of guideline that they can just kind of have, the words so they're not rambling on. I think that's just, part of the public speaking. Same thing, I like to help them with their posture, getting them to feel confident in their voice, so speaking a little louder than they would because they tend to soften up. Yeah, so just really just the one-on-one, not making them feel like there's, and definitely removing any extra distractions in the room if there is, or outside. I think that helps with people not feeling other eyes on them. So.
Okay, so it sounds like there's the one approach of having a conversation style where you kind of ignore the camera, and then another approach where you prepare ahead of time and kind of know exactly what you want to say, before you get to recording.
Yeah.
All right, good answers there. So I want to give each of you a business scenario, and I want you to be creative and give me your vision for what you could provide the business. I also want to know what kind of package you would recommend and what kind of timeline goes along with that package. So I'll start with you, Auburn. The first scenario, it is certainly dominated by women entrepreneurs. It's a yoga studio. This yoga studio, of course, has been closed for a couple months in the spring, but they made the best of it, and they got their hardwood floors refinished, and they repainted all the walls. And the owner really wants to share some videos of the atmosphere and experience to hopefully rebound and get some more customers in the door. What are your ideas and package and timeline for this one?
Okay, to start off, I would easily recommend getting them a social media like promotional package, something where they could get a set of 3 videos. It's something we do where they can do like a series of videos. And I think with the yoga studio, I think it would be awesome to start off with something highlighting the inside of their new redesigned place, something that really shows the hardwood floors, showing the new, just a whole new cleanse place, getting people to want to come. And then I would move in, and depending on how they would want to market and whatever their message is too, I would work with them on fulfilling that brand and whatever it is they want to fulfill, like like you said, kind of providing women to come to this place. So I think one thing I'd want to highlight into that video is one way they're, being COVID free. So showing like how they're cleaning the place, how they're providing masks or the 6 feet apart, because it is like a health place. So I'm sure that's something that's really important to this time. So that would be one of my ideas that I would like to recommend. And the rest would just be really highlighting the yoga itself, with people coming and showing that it's an inviting place. So I would probably do all kinds of different cool, like Alden said, some sort of B-roll stuff, and maybe even pitch the idea of having the owner talk about, what's happening with mixed shots of B-roll with slow motion, things that are happening. So it's just an inviting video. Yeah, so almost type of advertising. So I really think that would be the easiest way. And for the package for that to be done, I think the timeline for me would be, we would probably shoot the video, or each video usually would take like, I'd say 2 to 3 hours to shoot each video. And then I would produce a video probably by, I'd say, a week each time. So in a total of 3 weeks with that, we would have 3 different videos. And the cost of something like that would be anywhere from $600 to $800, a little bit, and maybe a little bit more, depending on how long the length of each video is. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I really like the idea of highlighting how they're responding to the virus. I think that's a great tip for any retail or brick and mortar store or service provider. I think that's a great tip. All right, Alden, your scenario is akin to all those craftswomen and craftsmen out there. It is a handmade leather goods store that sells a wide variety of different handmade products. The owner really wants to show off their superior quality and care for their products. Do you have any ideas and a package recommendation?
Sure. We have done a couple of these. We've done a handmade bag maker here in Jackson called Copper Dot Leather, as well as a handmade glove company here called Giver. And with both of them, I really love to focus on the process, because I think making things is so amazing, and there's so many really interesting camera angles and slow motion and close-ups. Like with the glove company, they brand the gloves with this kind of hot thing, so we would get a really slow motion shot of the smoke coming off the branding thing. So I mean, I just think there's a lot of ways to shoot handmade process items really beautifully. So I would first, talk to them about the process. I'd have them, pick a couple different items that they would want to profile, and then I would kind of I would suggest doing like an overview video of their business, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and interviewing the owner, what his or her main goal is with the business. And then I would kind of suggest a series of social media cut downs with those processes of some of their more maybe best-selling items or things that people seem to love. So the behind the scenes, how they're getting made. In terms of a package, yeah, I would suggest the 2-minute video and maybe 5 or so social media cut downs. We could shoot all of that sort of in 1 or 2 days, I always tell clients to see if they can organize their shoots into one period of time, because it's more cost effective to them than to have us having to come back and forth all the time. But 1 or 2 or 3 shoots, we could probably get all the content that we need. And then editing, for something like this would be like 2 to 3 weeks. And less if they're in a hurry, if they say they have a holiday thing they want to push, or they want to get one item out on Instagram, then we would rush that edit. But 2 to 3 weeks is about standard. And yeah, so from start to finish, concepting would be week 1, shooting would be week 2 and 3, and editing would be week 3 and 4. So I'd say a month from start to finish.
Okay, that is super useful. I think a month is actually a lot less time than I thought it would take. So great. So I'm thinking what we can do with the third scenario is I'll put it out there, and whoever wants to answer it can answer it, and then we'll move to the next panelist to kind of add on to that answer. So this last scenario is a hair salon that's been open for a couple years, and they just want to get some new faces in the door. Do you have any ideas or recommendations?
I would say that I would kind of go on the COVID thing. I'd have them do like sort of a new promotion, a COVID promotion, and say, we're still open, but this is what we're doing to protect you. So sort of like a 1-minute, we're still here kind of message. But then also, I would suggest doing like a social media push. Maybe they haven't in a while. Maybe they want to get more of a social media presence. So I'd say, let's do some cool behind the scenes videos of a few of your different, processes, your hairstyles. Like, is there somebody in your salon that's really great at doing blonde highlights? Let's do a Instagram on that. Is there somebody that's great at doing like super short, cool haircuts, let's do something on that. So kind of just like things that people might be specifically interested in, that they, you know, that they can kind of tune in more towards those things. And so again, yeah, like a series of social media videos, and then also like a, you know, reintroduction and sort of what they've done to be really COVID conscious during this time. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Auburn, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think Alden, those are all three really good suggestions. I mean, I think the social media is the best way to do it, and I like her idea on the reintroduction of, you know, of their business. Maybe some things, just more marketing strategies of like, you know, they have new sales, or just reminding people that they have online booking. That way they could, you know, just different things that you can promote really. So I think that's an awesome idea.
Great, I love that. I think it's probably the best tip for marketing is always put your best stuff up front. And so if you're really good at one specific service, you know, you should make sure to highlight that in your video.
Right.
All right, so the next question, I know I relate to this. When I spend a lot of money, I try to use it for as long as possible. And I really try and get my money's worth for anything I spend a lot of money on. But sometimes we just need something new. So how often would you recommend business clients to update their videos on either their marketing materials or their videos on their website? I'll start with you, Auburn.
So just knowing with some of the companies I work with, I know a lot of companies usually like to have their one main video for their website, and that video is usually highlighting the business, and maybe some of the services or products that they have. And that video usually doesn't change too frequently unless there's a major change inside the company or with the products or services. So I usually don't recommend people, I mean, that just doesn't happen too frequently. So the biggest one would be with the social media. That's always, I recommend people to, you know, update that all the time. That's where, that's the platform where you can give your clients the fresh content, show them, you know, the new products and services that you have, the different things, or just even showing them the deals or the, you know, just marketing strategies. That's the best way to get the message out. And I think that being freshly updated all the time, because, you know, on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to see that video one time, it was awesome for that week and everyone's going to talk about it, but then it's gone, it just disappears. So having that fresh content really does, it is important. And like I said, when you invest on us, we do our best to, you know, produce the thing and the message that you want in that creative way, so that way you get that return on investment. So I think those are the type of things that you guys will see more return on investment with.
Okay. Alden, do you have anything to add? How often should they be updating these videos?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with Auburn on social media is immediate. And so that needs to be a kind of a constant. And so that's why sometimes I suggest to people that they also do these more like kind of timeless overview videos. I mean, they're not timeless, but I think that they can last, you know, a year or two, depending on your service or product. You know, but our cameras are changing so much, and the imagery, you know, we just have these incredible cameras now that can shoot these frame rates, and the slow motion so beautiful, and the drones that I have are constantly changing. So the aerials are looking more amazing. So it's kind of like, I think past like 1 or 2 years, you can kind of start to see the difference in the footage. Maybe to my eye, I don't know about to a consumer eye, but I think even consumers now are so smart that you guys, we're all watching this HD TV all day that's being made that week. So it's like, you know, our eyes are also trained to look for this really beautiful dynamic footage. And I think that the lifespan of something I shoot could last a year or two is kind of my max. So I tell people to update their stuff if it's like an overview homepage video every year or two. But, you know, like Auburn said with social media, that's immediate, it's gone. And so it is the kind of investment that you just have to just sort of keep up, which can be daunting for a lot of people. Even me as a videographer, I just finally had to hire somebody to do it for me because my coworker and I, we just couldn't keep up with it. So it's daunting to stay active in the Instagram and social media world. So I get those hurdles, but yeah, so I think, immediately, or Instagram is more immediate, something more, a longer, more overview video can last a little bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah. Same in my own company. I've hired people to do what I do as well. So it is a daunting time. The timeliness is it's impossible sometimes. So
Right.
it is, yeah, that's a hard thing.
Right. It sounds kind of like, if you have something like a yearly event that comes up that you do every spring, like a landscaping company, it might be worth it to get some fresh content before your busy season comes. Whereas, some businesses, it might be a constant marketing effort. But I do like that, about 2 years for your main homepage video. And keep on top of it and make sure it's still relevant.
Exactly.
For this last one, I have some audience members who are already interested in this. So what are some tips for taking videos on a smartphone for social media, like Facebook or Instagram? And do you have any app recommendations for editing videos?
So this is a hard one since I don't take videos for social media on an iPhone. We use professional cameras, but what I always tell people is, and sometimes we'll get a client who has shot a bunch of their own iPhone videos that then we can incorporate into our edits. And if they have good framing, a steady hand, and good lighting are my 3 tips. So, if you're shooting somebody talking, you don't want to have this much. It's the same with a photo. You want to have them nice and square and center in the frame. You don't want to have a bunch of above them, or and then a steady hand, whether you're vertical or horizontal, you want to really hold it as steady as possible. Auburn knows this too, but we can stabilize a lot in post-production, but only up to a point. So yeah, and same with consumer editing programs. There's only a certain amount of stabilization that can happen. So you just want to be as steady as possible. And then good lighting, like if you're shooting something, you just want to, like right now, I'm just sitting in front of an open window. You just want to get as much good natural light as possible. So those would be my 3 tips. In terms of apps for editing, I wouldn't know, just because we use Premiere. I think that there's a consumer video version of that, and there's iMovie. Those are the ones that I know, but I think Auburn has a lot more knowledge on this than me.
All right, Auburn, do you have any cool apps?
So as far as, I think one of the best apps is the iMovie Maker. If you are an iPhone user, like Alden said, it is a simple, easy, quick editing tool that you can take your clips straight from your photos or from your video gallery and just go right onto there, put simple little transitional things to not make it, seem so whatever. But I think something that's really good as far as, shooting, or tips for shooting with your phone, is you have now these capabilities to shoot in slow-mo. So really taking advantage of the slow motion on it, being creative and not just holding it straight, right at and up and down in places, but actually putting it down below on the ground, putting something like Anthony at one point said, creating foliage is a thing where, you put like depth and fill between something and you have an object just in front of something, and you just create these beautiful different things. I know something we've talked about with just how social media is, it is kind of up and down, so the framing doesn't matter as much. But if you are keeping in mind to shoot and maybe share footage that you say want to share with a videographer, always put it sideways. That way we can use that footage. If it's up and down, we could use it to an extent, but not so much. Some other, I'd say, good apps that you guys could use and invest in, there's the Adobe Creative Cloud, which is something we kind of use, like Alden was saying, Premiere Pro. if you are gonna, use and try to do it yourself and get more creative, you can have these awesome phone apps that they have where you can use and, actually use professional professional videography tools. I think as far as some of the best ways to teach yourself to use your phones to have tricks and tips is just to go to YouTube and teach yourself. YouTube has honestly it's a creative platform, and we have the resource from YouTube to learn. That's honestly where probably I go to get most of my resources and to relearn things all the time is from YouTube. So if you really want to just get some simple things, YouTube, just simply search Instagram tips and tricks, and it will give you some of the best tools that you could probably use. So I think that's the best way to do it.
I totally agree with that. YouTube is a whole heap of information, and all you have to do is search for it. And I especially like, the social media questions, because there's just so much video content online, and it's really the most engaging type of content because it feels closer to being in person than anything else. So we do have a couple audience questions, and I will say, if you have your questions, type them in now, because that is what we're moving on to. So there is a question: for 1 minute of finished video, how much raw content footage do you anticipate needing, as far as, the time management planning? I'll start with you, Auburn.
Just for like a 60-second video, I would say I don't even need no more than an hour on site. If I shoot anything more than that, I'm really just going to be sitting at home wasting a lot of time just going through the footage to use. Usually it wouldn't even take maybe 30 to 45 minutes of actually being set up to shoot and get the footage. So I'm sure I really typically have maybe 20 minutes of raw footage that I end up going through, which still takes a lot of time. And there's plenty of clips for us in 20 minutes to get, 60 seconds worth of beautiful whatever clips that we need to have created that content for you.
Okay, and Alden, I just want to ask this in a different way. Like, let's say someone wanted a 5-minute video. How much time do you think you'd spend shooting?
Yeah, these are really great questions. And like Auburn said, the worst part of our job is having to go through hours and hours and hours of footage, but we all tend to overshoot because we just want to make sure it's covered. So for a 5-minute video, it really depends on if it's just B-roll or if you're doing interviews. But I really like Auburn's sort of 1 hour to 1 minute ratio. That's sort of, if we're doing a 5-minute video, we'll probably shoot for no more than half a day or a day max. But there's so many, it's not actually, like Auburn said, rolling that whole time. It's setting up different cameras, setting up an interview, breaking down, setting up a drone, breaking down, setting up it. So actual footage for a 5-minute video, I'd say maybe 60 to 120 minutes of actual footage. So yeah, but like Auburn said, the less is better, but it's sometimes so hard because we just want to tend to cover everything. But yeah, there's nothing worse than having to go through hours and hours and hours of footage that you need to cut down to like a 1-minute video. So just keep that in mind.
And I've worked, like, say recently I have a project right now where they have multiple locations, and for this one 60-second video, I've tried to, time manage with that company of how to shoot each location or be in those places as far as travel, and because it can get ugly at times for sure.
Okay. So another audience question: do you use a studio space where you shoot a video, maybe like an interview video? And do you guys do the editing? I'm guessing the editing takes a lot longer just because you keep going through the same, hours of footage. So Alden, do you use a studio space ever, and do you do the editing in office, or how do you edit editing?
So we have a, I don't personally have a studio, but there is one here in Jackson that I have access to. I like to shoot my interviews as much as possible in either a home or outside if it's possible. But there have been more commercial shoots where they just want a white backdrop and there's more studio lighting involved, and that's definitely an option. So the answer is yes, we do use a studio from time to time. It's not super common. Like I said, I like to try to do more interesting backdrops if I can. And you know, with our lenses these days, we can kind of do like a just like a totally nondescript blurry background, but at least there's some color and there's something going on behind the subject. So, but a studio is available. And in terms of editing, yep, we edit everything right here in this little office. And sometimes I edit on my laptop at night, and there's just lots of different, yeah, so editing is right here, right where we work every day. And we have a couple bigger editing machines. And then, you know, our laptops work as well, so.
Awesome. All right, Auburn, do you ever use a studio?
I'm the same way as Alden. I have access to a studio. I typically, as far as the setting and scenario, I'm the same as Alden. I try to get my client, if they specifically want a backdrop, I actually have a mobile studio, so I could set up a mobile studio in your house with the lighting and everything in the backdrop. And I have access to a studio where if they want this industrial looking or just basic place, we have access to that. And the thing with, I guess, avoiding a mobile studio, to me, I think it depends on your video of having that access or needing that. Like Alden said, just having a room with some sort of, or even someone in a beautiful outside, just depending on whatever, it just depends on what you're looking to do, I think, for that studio and needing it. But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. I think, you know, sometimes in studio makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, you know, depends on what you want to highlight.
And just real quick, that's what I was gonna say. With the microphones nowadays, like the lava mics and the different stuff to record sound, I know that was one reason people use studios, was just to have this clear, you know, cutting edge sound and not to have, you know, background noises of anything. And so, but with our technology now, it's really, we haven't really needed studios as much unless you're in a, you know, photography setting, where I think that's honestly used more now.
Okay, that makes sense. I think this kind of goes right into our next question a bit. Do you have any suggestions for small businesses who are looking to expand their videography skills beyond just shooting on a cell phone? You know, where would you start, you know, if someone was interested in maybe kicking it up a notch?
Yeah, for me, like I said, the biggest thing is if there's specific things that you're trying to accomplish, either having some sort of mentor to, you know, ask those questions to. So finding that mentor to either work with or like for me, when I started a long time ago, I basically did anything for free with anyone that I knew was skilled in that sense or had the experience or knowledge in it. So I was basically trying to get an apprenticeship of something just to learn from them so I could have on-hand access and just learn what they're doing. But if those specific questions come up, I'd say go to YouTube, look them up. There's so many different photographers and videographers out there that are giving their expertise out for free. And like I said, it's just the best resources that you can get if there's specific things that you know that you want to accomplish. There's courses out there from other photographers and videographers that do offer some, you know, valuable courses where they will like one-on-one help you with stuff. I've had friends that have done it and they've come out to be really successful videographers and photographers from just really not having any background and then to a year to two being very knowledgeable. So it depends on the route you'd want to go, but I think that's with our resources now, you might as well take advantage of all the free resources you can.
Mm-hmm.
And Alden it's different. Alden went to video, I mean, you went to school for it, so like it's different, I'm sure, in our opinions, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's funny is, yes, I went to film school in LA but everything I learned at film school is now completely obsolete. And I've actually, like you've been saying, Auburn, everything that Kira and I now need to learn, we watch a YouTube video on it. So I have a film degree, but I think you can learn just as much without that. And like the technology is always changing. So it's really, there's nothing that I learned, in college that is still relevant besides like basic storytelling and editing techniques, but all the equipment now is different. So yeah, YouTube is a great resource. I would say, I've had some clients that are hiring us so much and maybe they're reaching their budget and they say, is there any way that you could just help us set up our own deal? So if we need to shoot some little clip, we don't have to pay you whatever, and I'm like, well, first I'm like, okay, bummer, I'm losing a client, but yes, I will help you. And so I've set up a few, setups for people with, like a lower end DSLR. You want to look for something that has some ISO range, which means it can shoot in different light. And, but most of them now, Sony, Canon, Panasonic have great range for, you can get it's a DSLR camera for under $1,000, a lot less probably, and then a tripod and a light. And you can get these social media geared lights now. They're ring lights. They let off a really nice diffuse light. And then I think the most challenging part of setting up a home studio is the audio situation. As Anthony said, we use lavalier mics now, and that can get complicated for people. So they could just put a little boom mic on top of the or shotgun mic on top of the camera, which gets okay audio, but getting a little lavalier mic. And they're making all these products now geared towards consumers, so you can get like a lavalier mic that isn't like a really fancy situation, that is geared more towards a consumer setting up a little DSLR setup. So again, go on YouTube, type in best, DSL or best lavalier for, audio for a DSLR setup, or anything like that, and you'll get a multitude of different great suggestions on that. So I think that there's some good resources now. I think it's smart that people are wanting to, set up their own little studios, especially if it's a business who's posting to social media daily or, weekly. So that would be my advice.
Right. And another thing would be is like for me, when I want to learn something specific, or if there's someone that I follow on Instagram or social media, I look up to what those people are doing and producing. So if you see some of the, like say for your business, if there's something specific, like your business is a barbershop, I would follow these other barbershops and just see, for example, what is it that they're doing, and if it's, because some of them they are doing creative stuff with just their cell phones, and you wouldn't even know that's what they're doing each day. There's just people that are, they've learned and have the knowledge and skill to just learn something simple to do it like that with their phones. So I would just, find things and follow people and just kind of mimic what they're trying to do, and then that will help you learn different things just by watching. So.
Okay, yeah, that's always good advice. Watch the people who are doing what you want to do. So we do have another audience question, which is exactly about the microphones and the video sound setup. So this person has a music studio and they're interested in some recommendations for setting up some video or sound for music performances. I'm guessing this is kind of in response to COVID. We can't have a big group of people watching performances anymore. So do you have any recommendations?
I would suggest setting up a boom microphone, meaning like set up a boom on a stand over the band that's playing, and then record audio into like it's called a Zoom, or I'm sure Auburn knows the names too, an external audio recorder that you can just sync with the video, but that way you don't have to have the mic or the audio feed right into the camera. You can kind of take it wherever you want. But that would be my suggestion.
Yeah,
okay.
I think in some people like to pad their rooms. Like if it is something you're going to do, maybe some, and I don't know how professional it might go to, but people pad the room so that the sound, you know, stays compressed inside. And that does help as well with that boom mic capturing, as that especially large instruments sound inside a small space will bounce and it'll create all kinds of crazy ruckus. But I was gonna look up the Zoom recorder. That's an awesome recorder. It's the H4n, and there's all kinds of different brands like the Zoom H6, but those external recorders are the way to go, where you can store it onto that recorder, and it really does a professional job at keeping your dBs and everything as far as crazy white. I don't know, you can just control just outside sound with that, and control really good clear sound with it. So yeah, no, I would just look up, like Alden said, just even different setups on YouTube too, for people setting up with their microphones, but look up specific ways that people have at home setups. I'm sure there's some professional sound people that even give you the cheapest way to set up an at home professional sound way as well.
All right. So I know in a lot of marketing videos, there's like a background noise or music. So do you guys have any ideas to stay within copyright laws when using music? I know you can find, you know, music online where all you have to do is reference the person who made it.
That, I mean, it's different for every platform. I know that, like, say Instagram and Facebook, and I'm just using them as examples, but if you were to post something that has a licensed music, and you don't have the license to that music, they can automatically just take it down. Same with YouTube. But for me, I use a thing called, it's what is it called? Epidemic Sound. It's where I just have a membership to this company where I can base, and it's not really music, that secular music that we hear all the time. There's some secular music that you may hear, but a lot of it is actually really good music that a lot of like independent artists have just put onto these platforms, or people that make weird sounds and sound effects. And it's where I can get access to anything I need for sound and music that I can put, and it gives me the license just by being a member, and so I can use that for my clients. So that's a good way, and it's like $15 a month. May have gone up, but it's pretty cheap, and that's a good way for you to have licensed music for cheap and not having to worry about any sort of risk that could come with it.
Cool, that is awesome. I had no idea about that. Alden, do you have any recommendations for not breaking a copyright law?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've used a lot of different licensing libraries over the years. Rumblefish is another one. And then, yeah, there's so many, but coincidentally, we also now are using Epidemic, and I love it. They have great music. It's one of the best ones that I've found in a while. And you can actually buy license per song, I think. So you don't have to buy like the subscription. I think you can go on and just license one single track. So yeah, there's a few different resources like that, different music libraries, but Epidemic is a great one. Rumblefish is another one, and it might be a little bit more expensive. And yeah, I like Auburn said, you don't want to use copyrighted music because it will get flagged, and it's just a bummer to have a video taken down. So definitely use licensed music library.
Awesome. Well, that is super useful information. I had no idea there were so many different sources for these, for the music. I think that's probably my favorite part of some marketing videos. You know, if it has a really catchy music behind the words, it's just memorable. So it's definitely a good part of a video. All right, so it looks like that's the end of our questions. I just want to give you guys a quick thank you because, you know, you just shared so much great information. I'm so proud. I think this video is definitely useful for our clients. So what I'll do now is I'll just share some information about our funding partners, and we'll see some of our upcoming webinars. So the Wyoming Women's Business Center is made possible through several partnership agencies. The center's primary funding comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA, and the Wyoming Business Council. We are so thankful for the support and guidance of our partners, and we look forward to the work ahead. And of course, we have some upcoming webinars. This one is tomorrow, and then we have a couple, coming up for the end of the year. Remember to visit our website to register for webinars under upcoming events. All right, so the last slide is our contact information. If you are interested in talking to us, getting connected with a business counselor, or learning about our COVID-19 support program, you of course can give us an email or call at any time. All right, thank you guys so much for attending. When we close this webinar today, a survey will pop up on your screen. It's a quick 5-question survey. It might take you 30 seconds. And I just ask that you stay online to complete it for us. It's so informative, and we read it every single time we do a webinar. Thanks so much for attending, and thanks again, Auburn and Alden. We really appreciate it. All right, bye everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Okay.